Good morning, everyone. How are y'all doing? I'm doing alright. Let me get the link for today's stream and such. So, hold on. Okay. Alright. Got the link here, so let me make sure that the bot responds over on YouTube. Come on. Alright. Sent, so we should have a response soon enough. And I also got the link, so let me share that out. But yeah, things are going alright. I decided to do some exploration IRL this past weekend. And that didn't go so well, but oh well. Wasn't too big of a deal, otherwise I wouldn't be here. Sure, that's just a thing for there. Don't go dark. Don't want to set it up even though it was. I'll reply to that one later. But yeah, it's just a message regarding the things that have happened here. Essentially, as I believe I said before, I'm kind of living in a safe but bad area. And I did the exploration but as I was saying, it went to try and investigate if there was a stop close to me that would get me to one of the major streets that provides me everything that I need. And lo and behold, I ended up getting just having my suspicions proven, and then ended up getting hurt in the process. So getting hurt's not a bad thing per se, at least if you get something from it. But when it's something like your suspicions being proven true, it doesn't get work. It doesn't make that whole thing worth it. Got things going on here, so time to just get our link out. But yeah, I'm just recovering from that, and the injury wasn't too bad. But it just goes to show how messed up places are, like where I live, and that you can't really get around without a car, and yet you can be too old, too young, or have a disability that makes it so that you cannot drive, or it's not in your best interest to drive. And then they say you can go to your family and friends. And yes, that is true. But you're still at the whims of others. And they might not get to you in time, even if you wanted to go to them. Don't go dark, people. Got one more place to share out the link. $29. Alright, let me get the game up. And as before, it's a visual novel. So if you guys don't like visual novels, then I suggest you leave now. Alright. Here we are, and you guys should be able to see me. I should respond on all channels. Like as I was saying, I hope you are doing well. I'm doing alright. Other than the stuff that I mentioned before while I was getting set up. But I'm excited to get this show on the road. Just to see how long this will take me, especially because I started a little later than usual, but not too far late. Because I'm still within the time frame I said I would start. Anyway, let's get to this. Well, good night. Yeah, good night. Good luck with tomorrow. No, good luck tomorrow. Yeah, I'll do my best. Akari headed to Leland's room and I went to mine. We left the living room and went our separate ways. I got in my futon, and when I thought I would read some manga before bed, I noticed the tablet sitting at my side. Oh, that's right. She told me to try to send a message. I picked up the tablet and looked up how to do that. Now, Kari's view, huh? Right as I closed the door to my room, I immediately hit my limit. I dropped into my futon and started crying silently. I didn't understand why. These unpleasant feelings that I couldn't do anything about were filling my heart. I was probably just scared about tomorrow. I was going to be sneaking off the island without permission and heading to Tokyo. In the end, I wasn't able to tell my parents about my true intentions. So tomorrow I was going to betray them. I understood that they had done their best and cared for me. And just as they had cared so much for me, that made their expectations just as big. I really had a problem with them. It would have been better to honestly tell them how I felt. If they had opposed it, then I could have tried to persuade them. I completely avoided the path of reason that I should have taken, because I was weak. Nishime and Leland were really great. Even though they weren't that different in age from me, they both had left home and were leading independent lives. It was a greatness that I couldn't even imagine. I had been supported by both of them and was able to walk toward my dreams. But even now, thinking about the audition, I'm so scared that I am even shaking. Even though I betrayed my parents and came all this way, even those two helped me get this far, why did I have to be so scared? I can't believe I've been so selfish. How much trouble must I bring on to people before I'm satisfied? No, that's not what I want. So I have to welcome tomorrow with a smile. Embarking on my journey with a smile on my face and passing the audition is my obligation. Don't be scared. Don't depend too much on others. Smile. If I couldn't even do that, how could I possibly be a voice actress? Wow. Nevertheless, I was afraid of the tomorrow I couldn't see yet. I was really weak. Suddenly, I heard an out-of-place sound. My phone was telling me that I had received a message. I was shocked when I saw it. Want to go for a short walk? Maybe it was just my imagination, but you look like you're about to cry, Nishime. Hikaru. This perspective, huh? After I sent the message, I found myself wondering if it was weird to do. It was a weird thing to do and regretted it. I'd noticed that Akari's mood was a little off, but considering she was nervous about her audition, that was to be expected. I wrote that she looked like she was on the verge of tears, so I expected a response like, "You're quite far from the mark," or something. Well, I already sent it, so no use worrying about it now. As I mulled over that, I got a response. "I will join you for a walk. I'm waiting at the front door." It didn't seem like she was ridiculing me. I wasn't sure if she was pleased or not. I got out of my futon and headed to the door. "You changed your clothes?"
西目さんこそパジャマにパーカーを羽織っただけでどこに行く気ですか？夜は風が出ると寒いですよ。
I'd like to question your outfit too. What were you thinking having just a park over your pajamas? The wind picks up at night, so it gets chilly. Where were you thinking of going?
山ですよ。ハブに気をつけてくださいね。
To the mountain. Just watch out for pit vipers, okay? The mountain? Well, if that helps calm her down, I'll definitely accompany her.
行きますよ。
Well then, let's go. To my surprise, Akari walked out first. I hurried after her, shuffling in my sandals. We walked in silence. There were no signs of anyone else around, so it was just the two of us. Looking up, the starry sky stretched out above us. It was a sight that I had completely gotten used to, a night sky I'd never seen in Tokyo. We walked out of the village, and just like Akari said, we reached the mountain. As we continued on the sidewalk, we began to hear the sound of the river. After a moment, dimly glowing green dots spread out before us. This is amazing. The many luminous specks would appear, then disappear. They weren't as dazzling as the night sky, but they were a lot
ここ
closer.
なんですよ。私と西目さんが昔一緒にホタルを見たのは。
This is the spot where you and I watched the fireflies together all those years ago. Oh, like you told me the other day, right?
その顔、どうせまだ思い出してないんですよね。
You still don't remember, do you? I could tell from your face. My bad. Akari and I met only once when we were little. From what she told me, we had watched the fireflies here and got lost together. For better or worse, this was the place from the memory, but I didn't recall anything sad.
口に付き合ってもらってよいですか？
Could I vent to you for a bit? You don't mind talking to me? We sat down on a bench by the river. Kari started speaking little by little about this unpleasant feeling she didn't understand. Those words came up a few times while she was talking. She was being tormented by these terrible emotions whose origins she herself didn't
キリコに
understand.
叩かれたんです。漢字名を目指して努力している人だっているのに、ノロになりたくないとは何事かって。
Kiriko hit me. She didn't understand why I didn't want to become a priestess despite other people aspiring and working hard to become Hinjuna priestess. I need to check on that. Yep, I've read that right. Noro priestesses were decided based on lineage, so not just anyone could become one. And even if a zealous outsider became a Hinjuna, they would never reach that rank. For someone with that lineage to throw away a position that outsiders would forever long for was something she couldn't forgive. Apparently Goldilocks said all that to Akari and socked her. That explains why you were so down the other day. The struggles of those with entitlement. That rich people logic was totally alien to me. This is one of the negative aspects I saw of the world Akari lived in. The more you receive, the more they ask of you. She was basically being asked to give up half her life in exchange for the wealthy life she'd been living. If the demanded results matched what they asked for, they could probably be happy. But if not, it would just be a curse. But you're still going through with the audition, right?
はい。やめるつもりはありません。お二人にここまでしてもらったのですから。
Yes, I don't plan on giving up since you two did so much to let me go.
ただ、
But Akari trailed off. There was a break in the clouds bathing the area in the moonlight. That's when I noticed the traces of tears on her cheeks. But what?
戻れないのが怖いんだと思います。あかり、家を調べたんです。
Not
暮
being
らすための。
not being able to return here is scary. I looked into houses to live in
どんな
Tokyo.
家がいいかなと思って見ていたんです。おしゃれで可愛い家がいっぱいあるサイトを眺めてウキウキしていました。
I wanted to know what kind would be nice to live in. The website I was looking at had a lot of cute and stylish ones, I got all
東
excited.
京の街も調べて、青山とか渋谷とか絶対行くぞって気持ちになったりもして。
I looked into cities around Tokyo like Aoyama and Shibuya, and I started to think I'm definitely doing
で
this.
も、一人で暮らすために必要なものを具体的に調べていくうちに、どんどん怖くなってきたんです。
But as I started to look up specifically what I would need to live alone, I got more and more scared. Looks like Akari's not so dumb. And it's easy to sympathize with her right now.
何が不安なのかもわからなくて、ただ不安で。
I didn't know what was making me anxious, but I was anyway. The anxiety toward the tomorrow she couldn't see, the fear of not knowing how things will go on your own. I felt the same way when I first came here. I felt it that whole night in the sugarcane
う
fields.
まくいくかわからないのが怖いんです。
I'm scared that everything won't work out. Akari put the core of her emotions into words. Everyone auditioning tomorrow is probably feeling the same, right?
はい。だからきっと、あかりは進むしかないんですよね。
Yes, that's why I had no choice but to move forward with this. That's probably true. That might also not be true. There was no reason to purposely go down the hard path. You might be right there that there's no point in purposely going down the hard path, but the riskiest path that you can take in life is one of no risk at all. But Kari had chosen the hard path. To go somewhere she's never been alone, perform for people she's never met, be evaluated, and get the decision that would make or break her dream. That's the world Akari would be heading to tomorrow. I'm proud of you, Akari. That was how I really felt. To have a dream, persevere, and put it all on the line. At that point, it was too bright for me. That was something I couldn't do. That was something I could never have. Words like dream had never been relevant to my life. Not even once. The world Akari was living in was far away from mine. That's why I couldn't relate to her anxieties and fears. It's sad, but that was the reality. I wanted to help her out. I wanted to see the moment that dream gets realized. Looking back at my middle school days, there wasn't anyone who worked as hard as you are. That's why you're great. Frankly, I even look up to you. If things get rough, you can count on me. I want you to do your best. I'll be here for you. You. Huh? What's with that look?
そんなことを急に言われると照れると言いますか。大体ですよ。あかりは親にも嘘をついて、今日だって明日が不安で行きたくないなんて思ってて。
It's embarrassing to suddenly be told that. I mean, I lied to my parents and today I was so worried I didn't know if I could go
何です
tomorrow.
か急に優しくして。あかりを手ごみにしようったってそうはいきませんよ。
So why are you being so kind to me like this? Even if you try to assault me, it's never going to happen. Since I'm talking with a beautiful voice actress with a promising future, I figured I'd get the jump on recruiting you. What? Kari's face went red and she stiffened. It was just a
ま
joke.
ったく、こんな時に何を言ってるんですか。
Good grief, how can you
西目さん、
Good grief, how can you say things like that at this time? By the way,
西
yeah.
目さんはオーディション受かると思いますか。
Do you think I can pass the audition? I would answer I don't know. But if this goes by cliche standards, then maybe Hikaru will say more positive than that. Let's see what he says. She was clinging onto me with her gaze. I responded with a single emotionally loaded phrase. You dummy. Of course you can. I hit Hikaru with a chop. She spoke with a sigh of relief as she held her head.
そう言ってくれると思いました。そろそろ帰りましょうか。あかりもいろいろ話して満足しました。
I thought you would say that. Shall we start heading back? I feel a lot better with all of that off my chest.
あかりがこんなにエッチになってしまったのも西目さんのせいなんですからね。
I'll also have you know it's all your fault that I've become so indecent, okay? What the? There's barely a logical connection there. If it's a joke, I don't get it. We descended the mountain and returned home. Akari walked half a step behind me, holding on to my pajamas the whole way back. It was sunny the following day. The ferry was also running on schedule. The one in the morning was bound for Hisaku Island, and then another going to Naha. Then from there it was a flight to Tokyo. Since the audition was later in the afternoon, Akari would make it there in time this way. I carried her overnight bag to the ferry boarding area. That was all I could really do for her. The rest came down to her.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you for carrying my bag. No worries, just come back with the part. Okay. We had 15 minutes before departure. Boarding had begun. People were starting to leave the waiting area. I would see her off from here. All I could do was wait. It was frustrating.
行ってきます。
Well then, I'm off. Akari made her way into the boarding area, her bag in hand. Every now and then she would look back at me, which is cute. I couldn't go home with her looking at me so much. Not much else I could do. I could at least wave to her. I raised my right hand. Then some older man rushed out in front of me. Miss Akari! He had hair that had been meticulously combed, a suit that had nothing out of place. Oh my gosh, the butler. What's gonna go on? Is the butler secretly supporting her all this time? Or is he gonna do something to hold her back like he tried before? A small mustache. It was Akari's butler. What was that man doing in a place like this? Before I could even be surprised, he rushed over to Akari. Even though your hair was shaved, your head, what on earth did you do? Oh my gosh. Got exposed! Though, I guess we could all see this coming. The butler was confused. Understandably so. Akari, who was supposed to be at her priestess initiation ceremony, was attempting to board the ferry. Not only that, but the hair that was supposed to have been shaved off had grown back. It had to be an anomaly to him. But in other words, he hadn't shown up at the port to look for her either. Him stopping by the port was a total coincidence. Since there was only one ferry departure per day, it would be inevitable to run into someone who's also leaving the island. Our luck was way too awful. The god of fate was really bullying us this time. What about the ceremony?
それは
About that. There was no way that she had a good response ready. There was another Akari who was attending the ceremony. That excuse wouldn't work. Anyway, please return to the head family's residence. The ceremony has already started. What will they say about this? The butler grabbed her by the arm. Naturally. There's no way he would know we'd switched the real Akari with a fake
あかり
one.
は本家にいますから、私は別人です。
Akari's already there, I'm someone else! She tried to shake his hand off, but he was also desperate. It had developed into a small scuffle. At this point in the process, what are you? You please behave yourself. The rest of the people at the wharf were looking away from what was going on. It would have been good if it stayed that way, but people who understood the situation and wanted to help the butler appeared. The terrible thing was, they seemed to believe from the bottom of their hearts that Akari needed to make an appearance at her ceremony. If they took her away now, she wouldn't be able to make it on the ferry. She quickly glanced at me. The look in her eyes was asking for help. Well, I wanted to help if I could. But there was nothing I could do. Would I rush into the area filled with enemies? That would be a meaningless death. It would also be bad if we fought and it turned into a commotion. If the police were notified, things would get out of hand. But not doing anything wouldn't be good either. She would be forced into the car soon. Our time was almost up. My options were limited. But there wasn't anyone to take the lead. What should I do? I already knew. The only thing I could do was act. Hell, I didn't know if this would accomplish anything. I took a breath. I took a step forward. I focused all my power into my gut and screamed. Ah! I charged at the group taking Akari. They looked at me wondering what was going on. That's the outsider who's deceived Miss Akari. Don't let him get close. The butler gave everyone an exact order. At that moment, everyone on the wharf became an enemy. All the seniors without hesitation came to grab me. Before I knew it, it had turned into a scuffle. You have some nerve deluding the young Akitsumi girl, don't ya? Out with the outsider. Her Seniors Association, fight! I didn't like his face from the moment he looked at me. I was being attacked for a variety of reasons, but of course there's no way I would be beaten so easily. They won in numbers, but there was still the age gap. I continued my relentless resistance. I succeeded in peeling off some of the seniors who had jumped on me, but I was clearly outnumbered. Before too long, my arms were locked by seniors who seemed to know some martial arts, and I was finally wrestled to the ground. My limbs were completely pinned down and I couldn't move at all. While all of this was going down, Akari was being dragged away by the butler. If she was put in the car, it would be game over. Her dream would end here. You gotta be kidding me. She hadn't even made it to the audition. She worked so hard, doing everything she could. Whether she got the part or not, she had the right to audition. All of you with your so-called good intentions are destroying her dreams. Don't you understand? Even as I vented my swelling anger, I still couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. It was frustrating. That's why I was yelling. But no matter how much I did, it did nothing to change the situation. It was so frustrating. Why did I have to be so powerless? And that's when I heard that guy's voice. Get out of the way. A deep, menacing voice came out of nowhere. The group pinning me down loosened their grip a little as they looked for the source. The voice carried weight and echoed with a sense of danger. I bent my neck up to look. It was the group of delinquents. Leading them was Undercut. I recognized the other four as the usual lineup. Who are you? One of the seniors came out to the front, but as he was walking, someone poked his shoulder. The delinquent grabbed him by the collar. He brought his face so close to his that they were almost touching. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, huh? You wanna go? No, that's... The senior started to panic. It was a natural response to being threatened like that. There wasn't a group of delinquents on Toyotoki Island to begin with. The islanders wouldn't be used to people like this. You're a pretty rowdy bunch, eh? The geezers on this island are pretty lively. The islander, being glared at, looked bewildered. I also couldn't understand the situation. Why was he... what for? All I understood was that he wanted to pick a fight with the islanders. I guess they'd target anyone and everyone. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Right? Undercut walked and stopped in front of the butler, who was holding a Kari. He'd been standing ready, but before he knew it, Undercut's group had surrounded him, cutting off any way to escape.
Yo!
Long time no see, butler. What are you punks doing? You dare defy me? Too bad for you, that's how it is. I was tasked with taking Akari at Kitsumi. What are you delinquents planning to do with Miss Akari? That has nothing to do with you, that's up to our boss. Your boss, who? I'll pay you twice as much as they are. Her. Sorry, can't do that. I like to do my jobs exactly as I'm told. I'll call the police. He's still going on about this. Girl or boy, it don't matter. I'll take him down the same. He delivered his line in a straight right punch at the same time. Making a preemptive strike against someone who suggested calling the police. What a delinquent move. Ishime, are you okay? Akari came running to me, having found a gap in the commotion. She helped me up to my feet. You're hurt bad, aren't you? Nothing major, I'm fine. But thank goodness you're okay. It seems my resistance didn't accomplish much in the end. We were able to escape our predicament thanks to Undercut. Of course, these guys weren't necessarily our allies either, so we couldn't get careless. But right now, there wasn't any time to think. We're already past departure time, hurry! I was pushing Akari from behind. Just then we heard a blaring horn. The ferry had already pulled out from the port. It didn't show any signs of stopping, even with Akari waving her arms at it. She didn't make it. The cruel reality came crawling up on us. Now we'll make it. Before I knew it, Undercut was standing behind me. Follow me. Follow me, we got a boat ready. Man alive, this guy is prepared! He spoke to us in our panic. They have a boat? What the hell are you talking about? I stood in front of Akari, guarding her. Undercut laughed as he continued. Don't freak out, we're on your side here. You are? Yep, we're here to take Akari at Kitsumi off the island. That was the request. Take her off the island? If that was true, it definitely aligned with our goal. who requested
依
that.
頼主はお前らのよく知ってるやつだよ。今はツルツルになっちまった。金髪タテロールの女。
I'm sure you two know our client very well. It's that Goldilocks girl, or maybe I should call her Baldilocks now. Ah, so she came through! Nicely done! They really are friends. It's so sweet, too. There's only one currently bald girl I know who goes by that name. Their client was the self-proclaimed enemy of Akari.
キリコがあかりを
Why would Kiriko request that she'd been on the side of making Akari go through with the ceremony? She had appeared on the day of Isaku's Got Talent in a black car and took Akari away with her. She was on the same side as the butler.
ああな。
Mother.
俺は何も聞かされてねえ。だが、何かを知ってる風だったぜ。
No clue, I wasn't given the details, but she acted as if she knew something. She knew something. That Akari was aspiring to be a voice actress? Nah, she hadn't told anyone about that. Goldilocks couldn't have known. Was it because they were arch enemies? There might be something there. Because of that, she'd guessed that there was something behind Akari's selfishness. She could have crushed our plans. She could have taken Akari against her will. But instead she chose to set her free. Why? That was something I didn't know. It was something only the two of them could
逃げ
know.
るなって言ったくせに
Even though she told me not to run away, Akari was squeezing out her
立
words.
場を考えろって言ったくせにあかりを叩いたくせに敵だって言ったくせに
Even
この最後でどうして
Even though she said to consider my position, even though she hit me, even though she said we were enemies, and now at the last moment, why?
どうしてこういうことをするんですか
Why would you do something like
キリ
this?
コは30歳まで出られなくなるのに一人に押し付けるなんてそんなのあかりは
Even though Kiriko won't be able to leave till she's 30 to make her handle the job all by herself, They might have been enemies. Being told that one-sidedly might be getting tiring. However, it didn't seem like the relationship between Akari and Goldilocks was hostile at all. And that's exactly why she can't forgive herself for sending Goldilocks to be sacrificed
ねえ
alone.
今日なら帰るか。契約違反だが、嫌なら引き返すぜ。
If you can't do it, then just go home. I'd be breaching my contract, but if you don't want to go, I'll return you.
帰りませんあかりは島を出ます
I'm not going back home, I'm leaving this island. Akari yelled her reply to Undercut's suggestion. With teary eyes, she glared up at him, as if she was criticizing him for saying something
ま
absurd.
だ歩け。遊覧船だから足が遅えんだ。
If so, start walking. It's not a tour boat, so it's not that fast. Undercut, who had just been stared down by Akari, didn't say anything, turning his back to us. I took the now crying Akari's hand and followed him. Then I looked up at Mount Nufar. Undercut's client, Goldilocks, would surely be at the Sato family's ceremony site right now. She would be taking part in it. Her hair would be shaved again. She'd be wrapped in a white robe and she would become a Nora priestess. Once all was said and done, she wouldn't be allowed to love or marry until she was 30, being bald the whole time. It would not be forgiven for those in the lineage to abandon this obligation. The girl younger than me who said that was now offering her life. I would never be able to guess how much determination it would take to go through with that decision. But something I could understand was the desire to help out your close friend.
あかりは敵に送られた塩を無駄にはしません必ず合格を勝ち取って れで凱旋します。
Well, I won't waste an opportunity gifted to me by my enemy. I will be sure to pass the audition and make my triumphant return. Make it happen. Coming back with the part would be the best way to repay the favor. The boat had also been part of Goldilocks' master plan. The company her father operated possessed boats, so perhaps she had borrowed one for this day. I couldn't help but be in awe at the power the daughter had to use tour boats for free just to transport one person. We arrived at Hisaku Island. The ferry to Naha was now boarding.
なんだかんだで伊作島まで見送りに来ていただいてありがとうございます。
Thank you
行ってきます。
Thank you very much for somehow getting me here and seeing me off. This is it. I'm really off. It was quite the journey, huh? Go give them your all. I put my hand on Akari's head with the intention to pat her as a gesture of encouragement. But as I did so, she suddenly gave me a hug. Oh, you, what are...
どうですか？島で一番の美少女を抱いている気分は。
So, how does it feel to be hugged by the most beautiful girl on the island? And alive. You're still sounding arrogant to me, Akari.
最高に良い気分でしょ？これがあかりにしてあげられる最も素晴らしいお礼です。
It's the best feeling in the world, right? This is the best way I could think of to thank you. You keep calling yourself the most beautiful girl in the world. Well, or on the island, I should say, but... He never called you that, though, Akari.
おやおや、どうしたんですか？西目さん、顔が赤いですよ。
Oh goodness me, what's wrong, Nishime? Is your face all red? You little... Yeah, this is how she is. Well then I'm off. Akari slowly walked away. Yeah, Akari slowly walked away. She climbed the steps and boarded the ferry. The horn blared. It was almost time for it to leave the port. Then, after a few hours, Akari would be thrown down in the match she was betting her life on. I hoped that the environment she would be performing in would let her do her best. That was the most I could do now. Let's see, the choices don't have an impact on the story. You can skip without consequences. Alright, it says that, but I'm gonna save anyway. Alright. Some mishaps, and skip to next. I'm gonna do mishaps at the audition. When I got off the plane, everything already felt like Tokyo. There were so many different loud sounds, smells, and man-made things I couldn't describe. All around me were things I'd never seen before. Even though I was relieved that the conversations I overheard were in Japanese, I had to clutch my chest to keep my hopelessness from spilling out. From Haneda, I got on the monorail and traveled to a huge station. According to the route I'd looked up beforehand, I needed to get on the Yamanote line train that departed. Departed at 12:35 p.m. However, there were 4 platforms for the Yamanote line, not just one. When I told the station staff which train I was looking for, they told me where to go with a pleasant smile. I was also told that it would arrive in 5 minutes, so I didn't have to worry about the time. I rode the Yamanote line. Then I transferred to a subway line. Then finally I made it to the audition venue. After talking to the people at the reception desk, I was led to Studio 2. Even though there were still 30 minutes before auditions were set to start, a lot of people were already in the waiting area. I wasn't able to hide how much this shocked me. In Okinawa, people just didn't get places that early. I took a seat in an open chair and looked around at the other candidates. Well, she says that people in Okinawa don't get places too early, but I'm not too sure about the setting of this place in terms of like year and such. Because if this were modern day Okinawa, from what I heard, it's a lot like the States, because America has a base there and everything, and that you essentially have to take a car to get everywhere, at least mainland Okinawa, if I have to give this any credit for any separate islands. And so with that and how things are set up, there's going to be congestion, which leads to the lateness of everything. Whereas Tokyo is one of the most transit-friendly places on the planet. Like, sure, there's a lot of people, the trains get crowded and such, but it's a lot easier to live a healthy life in Tokyo than it would be in Okinawa or the States or even Canada. So, because of that congestion, they'll take a long time, and that could be a reason why no one ends up that early. I myself would appear at these places early enough, simply because I need time to relax and that, to get used to the environment and that. I'm not one to just jump into things as much as you might say that I just jumped into streaming like this. Some of them were in high school and others seemed to be around my age. They were all intensely concentrating on the script. I was overwhelmed by the heavy atmosphere, so I decided to do the same. I dropped my eyes to the script and went over the words I had read countless times. It would have been a good idea to say a few out loud, but my throat wasn't cooperating. After a while, some people who seemed to know each other were chatting as they made their way here. They said this wasn't a recruitment for specific roles, but something was up with the script. It's super obvious, huh? They're not even holding auditions at an office. It's a studio, right? Oh, I know. They're going to have sounds, right? It's already in production, isn't it? They were exchanging words that were impossible to understand. Something up with the script? What did that mean? Did they know something I didn't? And what was the difference between a studio and an office? My eyes weren't registering the words in the script at all. Before I knew it, I was fully focused on their conversation as my eyes moved over the text without seeing anything. It was just a waste of time. Well then, everyone, the auditions are about to begin. We'll start calling out names, and when you hear yours, please come inside. The staff member's voice brought me back to reality. I had failed to read the script right before they started, but I took a deep breath and calmed myself down. It's okay, it's going to be okay. because I had prepared really well for this. I had practiced the script enough to recite it from memory. See, the first line was, huh? How did it start again? This is kind of funny here, but it all makes sense to me. Because they're showing the problem of repetition in here and trying to memorize things. Because when you repeat things, it doesn't stick with you anymore. It's down to like muscle memory or something like that. I can't explain it, but doesn't mean that you remember it or why, as much as people think that it's good to have repetition. Katsumi, please come in. My name had been called. At that moment, I tightly gripped the script in my hands. It made a crumpling noise, and the staff looked at me with a puzzled look. The other participants did too. As I thought to myself that I needed to act more confident, I felt my body tense up, except for my knees, which were vigorously shaking. They were going to laugh at me. As I started to feel that way, my face began to sweat. In that mental state, I was brought into a room I had never seen before. There was a long desk with 3 people sitting behind it. There was a chair in front of it, and I was asked to take a seat there. Okay, please introduce yourself. The direct question came flying at me. I suddenly couldn't get any words out. I wanted to cry. I thought I should at least sit up straight, and when I went to lift my head, I bumped it against the wall. Thud. I suddenly got the urge to run out of the room. Could you please incinerate me alive? You dummy, of course you're going to pass the audition. At the moment, for some reason, it felt like Nishime bopped me on the head. Then a Leland I couldn't see gripped my face. What do you want to do, Akari? Even though I couldn't see her, I could feel her mercilessness. Do you want to win? Of course I do. Then win. There's no need to be scared. We'll take care of anyone in the way. They were my reassuring allies. Nishime was kind, and Leland was the strongest person I've met. They took care of everyone in the way. These interviewers looked doubtfully at me. Looking doubtfully at me wouldn't stand a chance against Leland, right? So your introduction?
これは失礼しました。まずはあかりの音楽的素養を示すために、ジョン・ケージの4分33秒を演奏していたところでしたが、伝わらなかったようですね。
Please excuse me, I thought performing John Cage's 433 he would show my musical education, but it seems like it didn't come across well, huh? But that's that, we don't need anything like that.
いえいえ、今回のオーディションには歌唱力という重要な要素が抜け落ちているようですからね。
Oh no, it seems like the important element of singing has been left out of this audition. Oh my gosh.
つい先日、地元ののど自慢大会で優勝したあかりの美声を知らしめる必要があると感じたまでです。
Just the other day I took first place at my local singing contest, so I thought that I needed to make my beautiful voice known here too. No, there isn't any singing in John Cage's piece, right? I mean, there's no sound. The interviewer forced a smile as they pointed that out. They probably thought I was some kid who's hard to deal with. I was perfectly fine with that, because that, in a sense, was who I am. I had regained my composure and responded to the interviewer's question with a response that was rich with wit. They especially loved my bit about the traffic traffic light. When I said I had seen enough traffic lights to last me a lifetime in Tokyo, they looked at me like I was some pitiable person. Well then next we'll have you perform some lines from the script. Now that the interview was over, it was finally time for the script reading part. I was guided into the studio behind some really thick doors. It felt strange to be in such a soundproofed room. There was a big microphone unlike any I'd ever seen before. This really is professional, but makes sense that they'd have soundproofing in that. Because I'm sure you guys have heard sounds in the background of my place, because I'm not that well done. But oh well. I'm just doing this for fun. One of the walls had a glass window through which I could see the room we were just in. One of the staff members came with me and adjusted the height of the microphone for me. It was a space that I wasn't familiar with in the slightest. Due to my nervousness, I could feel the fear creeping in. That made me think of Kiriko. And when I did, the version of her in my mind was very unlike her cheering me on. Akari Katsumi, my lifelong rival, I will not allow you to be defeated at this stage in your journey. Oh, it looks like we're starting, so could I ask you to leave? You'll listen to everything that I need to say. We're actually starting now, so... I sealed the Kiriko in my mind away. I focused my thoughts on the script. I already had an image of the character in my head. Comments I heard in the waiting area, the hidden motive with the script or whatever characters the staff liked, had nothing to do with me. I would just perform it in my way. It counted down and the recording started. I took a breath and... I love you, that's why. Please don't leave. In this moment, I had become the character, and the character had become me. Throughout the recording, I hadn't looked at the script or the staff members on the other side of the glass. She's doing pretty good here. But then again, like I said, it's pretty much become muscle memory at this point of her doing it rather than her actually remembering and knowing the script. Before I knew it, I'd read through the whole thing. Without any reactions in particular, they took me out of the booth, told me the evaluation is over, and had a staff member guide me out. Hold on. One of the interviewers called out to me. I forgot to ask about your favorite anime. What kind do you like? In general, I like mecha anime. For some reason they all nodded. I thought they might continue the conversation, but that was it. With that, I left the studio behind me. With the audition over, I could say that it felt a bit underwhelming, but my heart was brimming with a sense of accomplishment. Nishime, I did it. Others? Oh, I see. What an interesting girl. Every now and then we get some strange kids, but she was broken by design, wasn't she? Yeah, you're right, it hurts when it's natural, but that one was broken in a way that wasn't bad. What did you think, Mr. Enjo? Her way of performing was questionable. It was nowhere near an innocent, pure love heroine. Or rather, the way she performed completely disregarded the way her voice is. The way she was saying her lines felt forced. Yeah, it was definitely giving me common harm vibes. Even though it was the script for a girl of pure love, no matter how you saw it, she was forcing it to be something mecha. A common harm who would see the boy she loved off at a train station. Oh, I love it. What do you think, Mr. Enjo? I don't like it. From the perspective of an idol, it's important to evaluate based on their appearance and singing ability. But for voice actresses, if you don't produce work based on the type of voice you have, there's just no point. That girl's inexperienced, an uncut gem for now, but if her skills were polished, she would shine. It's surprising to hear you compliment someone like that. I've also never heard something like that from you before. That wasn't the way I meant it. You're so hot and cold today. You wrote pass on your sheet, didn't you? So did I. In fact, all three of them had done the same, along with the words, conditions apply. Makes me curious what the conditions will be. 10 hours had passed and she left. Like, if I had to guess, the conditions might be that she gets acting lessons in that, so that it'll come off more genuine. But I don't know. After all, there are various reasons the acting could be bad. Like, heck, you've got the Japanese live-action adaptations of Death Note that people say, including myself, are better than the Netflix live-action adaptation, but the Japanese live-action adaptation had poor acting for their heart attacks. It, looked outright fake. Let's see how things go here. 10 hours had passed since she left. I was on the ferry heading back home. Had Akari made it to Tokyo safely? Had the audition ended by now? Did she mention that when she would get the results? I thought she said they'd tell her right away. I wonder if that was the kind of thing that could be decided on the spot like that. I wasn't the one who auditioned, but I still couldn't help feeling anxious. I mulled over those feelings the whole trip back. What's going on? There was a tense atmosphere at the harbor. There were scattered groups of huddled islanders, all sternly discussing something. On Toyotoki Island, where nothing that big ever happened, it was rare for them to get so concerned over anything. But today there were a bunch of people exchanging opinions on something, serious expressions on their faces. I had been away from the island for most of the day to go see Akari off. In that time, something divisive must have happened. A situation requiring discussion had arisen. Let's see. Oh, had arisen. Okay. Good thing I looked back at that. So then it's really true that Yamadomi's been lifted, eh? I don't know what felon means, but it's looking like they canceled that. As I paid closer attention, I heard a fisherman's loud voice carried on the wind. A Yamadomi was a period of purification through abstinence that was observed right before an important ceremony. Praying at Toyotoki and other places of worship, fishing and logging were all prohibited. Kari told me that it was believed that breaking this abstinence would bring harm to the crops, so the islanders completely followed the rules. If the Yamadomi had been lifted, it meant that the ceremony had ended. Akari had also told me that the ceremony could end in failure. It would seem that was what happened. Realizing I might know why I broke out in cold sweat. That girl, had she been messing around or something? I went around doing my best to gather some intel. The failure had become the talk of the island. I walked up to one of the groups and eavesdropped on their conversation. I heard bears attacked. Ridiculous. You think there are bears on this island? Weren't there cases of sudden illness? Dr. Kinjo seemed panicked. I heard parts of the mountains collapsed. The trees in the area were swept away like whoosh. No, I heard demons attacked. You can see fallen trees from Mount and far. The bears did that, eh? The sudden cases of illness, mountains collapsing, and bears attacking. I couldn't understand what was going on at all. Then it hit me. This wasn't my only way of gathering information. I could just ask Leland directly. I quickly took out the tablet. He had received some messages. They were from Leland. Things went smoothly here. What about on your end? The difference in awareness was remarkable. The story that the ceremony had failed was a hot topic among the islanders, but I gathered all my energy and responded. The people are in a panic. They think bears attacked and the mountain collapsed. Did something happen? Bears did attack, but I chased them away. The trees collapsing were just collateral damage. So bears really had appeared on such a remote island. There was no way there were bears here, no matter how big the forest was. Well, did you use magic? Did they find out about the switch? A little, but it didn't seem like anyone noticed. I chased them away as Akari. How? I cut down some trees and used them as weapons. Oh my gosh! This is hilarious here. Chop down trees and chase them away. That reminds me of Izumi Curtis. I'm not too sure about the rest of you, but it's what she did in the OVA of FMA Brotherhood. Let's see. I quietly put the tablet away. This was Akari's heroic origin story. That was all I could say. I ordered Leland to keep everyone around her quiet. This was about all I could do. Time to go home and rest. It was the day after the audition. Akari safely made it back to Toyotoki Island. Her face was peaceful like the calm sea. She looked burnt out, but also like it all went as expected. So how'd it go?
上々です。特に波風を立てることもなく、粛々と済ませてきました。
It was great. I didn't cause any trouble and I was able to get through everything quietly. That's great to hear.
問題が一つ。
But there's a problem. What is it?
合格の連絡は今日来る予定でしたが、未だに連絡がありません。
The results are supposed to arrive today, but I haven't heard from them yet. It was just one thing after another. What time is it now? After looking at the clock, we saw it was 5:30. Now would be a weird time to hear from them.
何を慌てているんですか、西目さん。
Is
まだ
some
6時間もありますからね。
is something
待ち
worry
ましょう。
is something worrying you, Nishime? I mean, there's still 6 hours left. Let's just calm down and wait. Nah, people don't just call in the middle of the night like that. You're oddly calm about this. It was scary as someone who was just watching. Everything was being decided today. If her dream would come true or not. If she had the talent to become a voice actress or not, it was all in the hands of someone else. I didn't think I would be able to keep my cool in that situation. You're not just putting on a brave face, are
本
you?
心ですよ。
Is that how I really feel? Oh, I think I read that wrong. Yeah, this is how I really feel. Okay, she kicked a piece of loose
あ
concrete.
かりはやりきったんですよ。だからもう、あかりにできることはないんです。
I did the best I could in the audition, so now the only thing I can do is wait.
もちろん、怖くはありますが、ジタバタするのはやめようって決めたんです。
Of course
それ
I'm
をずっと帰りの飛行機で考えていました。
Of course I'm scared, but I decided that I wouldn't panic or anything. I was thinking about that the whole way back on the plane. She was being really philosophical about it. She seemed different
そ
somehow.
れを成長と呼ぶんですよ。
I'll have you know, people call that personal
彼は
growth.
最終選考というものを経験して、大人の階段を登ってしまったのかもしれません。
I think having experienced being selected as a finalist was like taking a step up as an adult. Not when you're that short. It... is a joke I could have made, but I didn't. This Akari actually seemed a lot more grown up.
ところで西目さん、儀式は無事に終わりましたか？
By the way, Nishime, how did the ceremony go? Any problems? About that, it seems like it was postponed or cancelled. What? I asked Leland about it, but she avoided my question. The Asato family has also kept silent. It's become quite the situation. I had done my best to gather intel, but the details were unknown. All I'd been able to get was some vague
イブー
rumors.
さん、何かやらかしましたね。後始末が大変そうです。
Leland must have messed up, huh? Having to clean everything up after must have been rough. I told her I was sorry. We started heading home as we exchanged information. Without warning, a phone started ringing. It was Akari's. We returned to the ferry waiting room so she could take the call. We wouldn't need to worry about the sound of the ocean here. We'd also be able to hide our excitement. Akari brought her phone to her ear. Then her other hand gripped mine. She was suddenly agitated, but I held her hand tightly.
はい、赤積です。はい、そうです。
Yes, this is Akari
おっしゃる通りです。
Yes, this is Akari Akatsumi. Yes, that's correct. Yes, it's just like you said. She continued to respond for a bit. I couldn't hear the voice of the person on the line. I also didn't know who they were. A tense nervousness was in the air. She gripped my hand even tighter. I responded in kind. With a goodbye, Akari ended the call. She sighed. Who was
オ
it?
ーディションの偉い人でした。
It was someone in charge of the auditions. So what did they say? It was a simple question, but my voice came out higher than normal. My knees were also shaking. I was scared to hear the results. Akari took a deep breath before replying. I passed. My whole body was filled with extreme emotion. I got chills and slapped my knee without thinking. They said conditions apply though, so I wonder if they told her those conditions, because that's the only thing that would make sense if they do that. But Akari's expression
た
darkened.
だし、条件付きです。
But it's a conditional acceptance. Conditional?
条件さえ満たせば、最優秀新人として扱われるそうです。
Yes, if I satisfy the conditions, I would be considered the best newcomer. And if you
不
don't,
合格です。
then I won't get the part. But what are they?
親権者の同意を取ること。
I need to get parental consent. Ah, So in other words, to become a voice actress, it wasn't up to Akari, it was up to her parents. This has nothing to do with them though. It's easy enough to say that, but I didn't have the right to decide something like that. What are you gonna do?
親に話すしかないですね。
My only option is to talk to my parents, right? That was true. Thinking about it reasonably, that was the natural conclusion. She had to scrap her plan to run away from home. Are you gonna be able to do
わ
it?
かりません。でも、やるしかありません。
I don't know, but I don't have any other choice. Akari made a fist.
話をしている間、一緒にいてもらっても良いでしょうか。
Could I ask you to be with me when I do? In the past, I wouldn't have any problems with this kind of question. But these days, people have been asking me to be with them as support and asking me to interject and such. And I prefer to be a neutral party in a lot of things. I will admit that things surrounding me aren't exactly perfect in regards to dealing with other people. But it's all up to them in doing it in the end, and if they want me to say something on their behalf or something, then it's just something that I won't do, since people need to learn to stand on their own eventually. Like, sure, we need the community in that, but we really do need to stand on our own at times. And that's where a lot of my frustrations with life and that come in, is that people don't understand that. That's something that I could do, but I have some conditions.
エッチなことは、その、アイドルになる身としては NG なんですか？
But doing lewd things is no good for the image of someone who's going to be an idol. You're gonna do it now, call them right now. Kari's face stiffened at the condition I gave her. Well, it's a reasonable condition. I wasn't going to let her delay this conversation. If she was going to talk to them, it had to be today. It had to be now.
わかりま
Okay.
した。
She nodded, steeling herself for what was to come. We called Leland and brought her up to speed. She told her she understood before hanging up. The sun was setting. Like an omen of bad weather, the weather started picking up. A car slid into the port. A well-dressed couple got out. They were Kari's parents. Her father was nearing old age, and his hair was completely white. On the other hand, her mother was more youthful, and her glasses gave her more of an intellectual appearance. Kari's shortness probably came from her father's side of the family, huh? There was almost no difference in their heights. Akari and I left the waiting room together. When her parents saw us, their expressions hardened, because their daughter was with me. Her mother in particular looked at me with vigilant eyes. What happened? You called us so suddenly, her father asked, completely ignoring my
大切な
existence.
話があるんです。あかりの将来に関することで。
I have something important to talk to you about. It has to do with my future. It's about becoming a Nora priestess, so you don't have to worry. Her father replied as soon as Akari began talking. We have received permission from the head family to pass on your priestess initiation, study to your heart's content, and continue on to college. That's right, your father bowed his head and begged over and over, and they finally accepted our request, her mother added. Then they both placed a hand on Akari's shoulders, like they were trying to encourage their daughter. But to me, these actions came off as something else entirely. These two were placing their huge expectations onto Akari. Expectations that were way too heavy.
そうじゃないんです。あかりはやりたいことがあるんです。
That's not what I mean. There's something I want to do. Something you want to do? Her father tilted his head in confusion, like he was hearing about this for the first
あか
time.
りは声優になりたかったんです。そのためにオーディションを受けてきました。合格ももらいました。
I want to become a voice actress. To accomplish that, I went to audition for a role and I passed.
声優として働きたいんです。
I want to work as a voice actress. It was a quiet but strong declaration. But it didn't seem like it had resonated with her parents at all. Their faces just showed signs of confusion. Voice actress. Audition. Passed. It didn't seem like they even understood what the words meant. There was a huge difference in moods. I didn't think I'd have a role to play, but I decided to chime in. Voice actors have the job of applying their voices to anime or movies. Akari has watched anime since she was a kid, and that's what she wants to do. After hearing my explanation, her parents seemed to have a better grasp of the situation. But just because they understood didn't mean they'd emotionally come to an agreement. So what did she do? She went to an audition. It's the gateway to debuting as a new actress, and Akari was able to pass the audition and landed the role. In reality, she wanted to talk to you before taking the audition, but she wasn't able to find the timing to do so. I don't understand. Her mother aggressively shook her head. I had become the focus of her anger. I have talked to Akari about her future, and we decided that she would do her best to get into college. What is this? This voice acting. This is the first time I'm hearing of it. Because I don't think you guys listen to your child. This is why I say that people like me and a lot of others have been cursed by having good families. Like, yeah, I'm not always the best to my family, but our families, while good, they have this, like, dream idyllic thing that, like, as long as you're with your family, everything's gonna be better. And they also watch these movies in which they do emphasize a good message that families are important, and they that's a message that does need to be given out, but it's always the nuclear family, and it's always like finding how to be happy with your family. But with visual novels like Clanad, which was among my first visual novels, but I got introduced to Clanad through the anime. In Clanad, it does a lot better of a job because you've got the good families that Western civilization upholds a lot and values, and shows that yes, this is a sign of a good family and such, and that the nuclear family can be great. But you've also got stories of families broken, like Tomoyo, who her parents nearly left each other because they were apathetic about everything. And the only thing that brought them back together was Tomoyo's little brother almost unaliving himself. So that showed that it could repair it, but The one that stands out a lot to me now when I think about Clannad is Yukine Miyazawa. I think she, in that story, had a good family, but she also had a strong bond with a lot of delinquents. And that goes to show that your family isn't just what's established by blood and paper. And that's one of the things that these movies produced here don't do a good job of. Because it's always about lifting up the family you have because you're born into it, or the family that you got adopted into. In other words, it's all blood and paper. And that's just one of the things that I liked about Clannad, was it was something different to me. This here, in terms of this story, it just seems like Akari's got a bad family here. Particularly her parents that are forcing something on her. And they're not anything like Nagisa Furukawa's family, who said that they didn't give up their dreams. They made their dreams their child's dream. That is the ideal nuclear family parent. That's how parents should be. And they're not her parent. That's not who the parents are presented here. What is this? This voice acting. This is the first time I'm hearing of it. I gave her angry mother the same explanation again, but didn't seem to make a difference. I tried my luck and asserted that perhaps the only reason they wanted Akari to go to college was because that's what they wanted her to do. And their reaction was dramatic. What the hell would you know? I heard Akari had some good-for-nothing friends, but I didn't realize they were this bad. You know nothing! You're trying to force a way of life onto her, like a lot of parents in Mormonism and other Christian sects do. You're only exposing them to one side of life, so they don't have a way of choosing for themselves if that's what they want. Whereas Akari has various friends, so she gets diverse viewpoints. This means that she can decide how she wants to live her life. As long as it's within reason and she's prepared for the consequences, that is. Her mother was exasperated and pulled on Akari to try to get her to come with her. She completely ignored her daughter's resistance, because she believed she was correct and didn't doubt herself. She even resorted to force. Parents really are a nuisance. You really don't realize why Akari didn't talk to you about it, do you? It's because she can't trust you at all. She can't trust us. What kind of stupid... She suddenly pulled Akari closer to her when I provoked her. If she disliked me, then whatever, I guess. She probably thought she could trick Akari into straying away from what she wanted to do. Don't you think that you've put too much pressure on Akari? It's overwhelming her to the point where she can't talk to you about anything. I agree here, Hikaru. These parents are nothing like Katomi Ichinose's parents or Nagisa Furukawa's parents. Both of them were the ideal loving birth parents. The only sad thing is Tomi Ichinose's parents died, while Nagisa's lived, but they both were the ideal parents. Well, isn't that normal? Parents have to think about their kids. Is there something wrong with that? There is, when you're forcing a way of life onto them that doesn't make sense. Especially when the parent ignores the needs of the child. Especially a dependent adult child, I should say. Because parents worry in that. But with the way things are, and in how the parents of my generation are, they worry about money too much when they need to worry about being able to take care of needs. This is why I keep demanding personally in my life that I want to be able to walk or cycle to places. But everything's about money, and if you place money first, you're going to worsen your life. When you get older, or you end up with a disability. Because like it or not, there are disabilities that prevent people from driving, and family and friends can't always be there to help. And in this capacity, they're not paying attention to what their daughter wants, or what she needs. So they aren't really thinking about her at all. There's nothing wrong with that, but like I said, it doesn't mean you can force them to do what you want. Who do you think you are? Kari's mother let out a sigh. She seemed to pity me, a young boy who was opposing them for reasons they couldn't understand. Even your parents have told you to study, right? I bet they were thinking of you when they did because your studies would pay off in the future. The studies don't always pay off in the future because the schooling, all it does is indoctrinates you. Very few of them encourages you to learn, and this is why I kind of like looking at philosophy a bit. I am not an expert in philosophy by any means. I don't understand it, but what I do like is that it encourages you to think. Especially when you look at things that are so simple on the surface, but truly profound when you actually think about it. Like how Socrates says, the only true wisdom is in knowing that you know nothing. Or the allegory of Plato's cave. They're so simple, yet so thought-provoking at the same time. And you can't really get that in school. Because the schools just, a lot of times, discourage critical thought. Because that doesn't help you out with society, even though it helps you out with life. Well, I wish I had parents to tell me that. Where are your parents? Both of them has passed away. I was taken in and raised by my aunt, but even she ran off in the night, abandoning me. She looked uncomfortably at me. And Karen continued. Of course I'm envious of those with parents. Being able to go to high school and get money from them for college, those are just dreams for me. I think about that sometimes, looking at Akari, like I would be in high school if my parents were still alive, or would I be able to not work? Or if I'd have to worry about paying my electricity or water bills. But I don't have parents, so those things are just meaningless fantasies. But that's my story. Akari's is different. No matter how good someone's circumstances are, if it's not the life they want, they'll be miserable. And I agree with Hikaru here. I think it's a waste, but we're different, so I can't help but think that who wants Akari to go to college? Did you properly discuss it? I know this is obvious, but if you died, you wouldn't be able to talk through things like this. Halfway through, I lost what I wanted to say. I doubt what I have to say means anything to them, and yet I gave them my life story. My face reddened either from embarrassment or because I felt pitiful. On the other hand, her mother, who was always cutting into conversations, had listened until the end. Maybe she thought the kid standing before her was worth having a conversation with. If that was the case, then maybe it was worth going through all this.
ごめんなさい。あかり、全然わかってませんでした。
I'm so sorry. I didn't know any of that. Kari was suddenly
し
crying.
めさんは大変なのに、あかりのわがままに付き合わせてしまって、
Nishime,
に親の話なんかをして。
Nishime, you're going through so much. Yeah, it made you follow me around, and I've been so inconsiderate with all I've said about my parents. Her mother caressed her back. Apparently, I've somehow made them care whether I wanted to or not. Not that I really minded. You... Could it be that you're Nishime's grandson? Kari's father broke the silence. Thank you for taking care of Akari. That's not really how it is. Do you think we're in the wrong here? Yes. I quickly responded. I had to. You have some nerve to quarrel with people you're unfamiliar with. That's not how it is either. I responded emotionlessly before, but on the inside I was in a cold sweat. Wasn't Akari's father a prominent figure? I might be driven off the island tomorrow. Akari, is what you said earlier true?
はい。ずっと言えなくてごめんなさい。
Yes, I'm sorry I haven't been able to talk about it. Akari lifted her head and looked at her father directly. Do you understand that you have gone behind our backs and betrayed both your mother and me? She was being hit with harsh words. Yeah, she's definitely harsh and she deserves this scolding. But at least they're having a conversation now. But Akari didn't
も
flinch.
ちろんです。その覚悟を決めてオーディションを受けました。
Of course, I had to come to terms with that when I went to the audition. That was very selfish behavior.
はい。
Yes. You understand our expectations of you?
はい。大学へ行かせて村長を継がせる気なのだろうとは思っていました。
Yes, you want me to go to college, and I thought perhaps you'd want me to take over the position of island mayor. And you're not satisfied with that future?
はい。中学に入った頃から。
No, from the time I started middle school. Oh. No, from the time from about the time I started middle school. This ungrateful daughter of mine. Well, you have a right to be upset with her. But how can you call her ungrateful when she felt trapped because of you? It was so sudden. Without warning, he hit Akari. She staggered and looked like she was about to fall, but she stayed on her feet. She raised her head and bowed deeply one more time.
お願いします。私はどうしても声優になりたいんです。期待を裏切るのは申し訳なく思います。
Please. Please, I want to become a voice actress no matter what. I apologize for betraying the both of you, but
私は夢を諦めたくないんです。お願いします。
I don't want to give up on my dream. I'm begging you. Even when she was told to cut it out, she kept her head down. She was so serious that it made me question whether I should go and plead with her. But nevertheless, her father's attitude didn't change. Come on, darling. We're going home. But what are we doing about Akari? Let her be. She needs time to cool off. But, also darling, cancel Akari's crammed school classes. I'm sorry? Her father looked back just once. He said one thing to Akari, whose head was still bowed. Akari, are there any supplies that voice actresses need? It seems he's relenting here. Seems that he's doing what a father should be. Akari looked at her father with a look of disbelief. Her mother and I had the same look. I was sure it was all over. But what he just said. If there's anything you need, tell us. If it's something we can provide, you'll have it. Thank you so much. Akari bowed her head once more. There was no way he was completely convinced. Her father nodded with a bitter expression. Honey, is this okay? You've already begged the head family to let her go to college. There's no need to worry about that. I'll just go back and plead with them again. But, Akari, we're going. We'll talk more about this at home. As her father got into the car, her mother reluctantly followed. It drove off, and after a while, we couldn't see it anymore. Akari and I watched it disappear. When it was fully gone, I felt some emotions suddenly welling up within me. Well, we did it, right? I stroked Akari's head. And as I did that, she leapt into my chest. She was warm. Like she was a bundle of heat. It also looked like she was crying a little.
はい。でも、あかりは悪い娘でした。
Yes, but I was a bad daughter. That's true. I mean, they did beg to let you quit becoming an oral priestess. Even if they pressed all these expectations on Akari, your parents were thinking about her well-being. That's why they begged the head family to stop her from becoming a priestess, and started making preparations to let Akari go to college. I'd be lying if I said they didn't trample over my feelings about them. There's no use talking about what's happened. Make sure to tell your parents everything this time.
はい。これはあかりが今まで黙っていたのが原因ですから。本当に申し訳ない気持ちでいっぱいです。
Yes, if I hadn't been quiet about what I wanted this whole time, none of this would have happened. I feel so guilty.
でも今になって分かったんです。
But after all of this, I finally understand. What?
親がどれくらいあかりを大切にしてくれていたか。
How much my parents care for me. I see. That's generally a good thing for sure. And they definitely cared about college, too, which you could say is nice. But you have to remember that the parents are usually locked into a set of beliefs a lot of the time. And back in the generation of back in the generation of my parents, a college degree probably meant quite a lot. It set you up for a good life and that. But now it's to the point where I hear that even people with PhDs have problems getting jobs. So the degree means nothing at this point. You have to focus on being able to build up your skills however you can. But unfortunately, people don't have time for that a lot because of so much going on, and there's no real way for them to pursue what they want. Like, yes, you could say that they can do it. Oh,
きっと同じでしたよ。
I'll go back there. As I was saying, there's a way people could do that and go on it, and that you could say that yes, that could be just because they have to make a choice. And yes, that is true that you have to make a choice a lot of times in life. But look at what is happening in the States. We've got a lot of health problems, and doctors seemingly kind of seem at a loss at a lot of the times because they're either convincing patients to take drugs if they're not willing to, or they're trying to convince the patients that you've got to exercise more, or you've got to eat better. But yet we're living in a way that you have to make a conscious choice to do all of this. Whereas places that aren't as developed, or you should say better situated, or even tribes that live close to how humans used to be, they don't have to make that conscious choice. Because it just comes up as a side effect of what they do, or want to do, or need to do. That makes it easier to make those good choices on a conscious level. Whereas here, with how things are, people are like, I don't want to, so I'm not going to. Thereby, the human condition, or human nature, keeps feeding into a bad loop. And how this ties back to college degree, like I said, it doesn't do you any good. You need to get those skills so that you can actually stand out. Let's see what I missed here. How much my parents care for me. Let's see, so we're gonna do that. we're gonna read up a bit here. So, but after all this, I finally understand how much my parents care for me. I see. That's generally a good thing for sure. Your parents felt the same way for you. I know it. Not that it means anything if they're dead. It means a lot. Hikaru. I mentioned Katomi Ichinose once. It said that her parents were dead. But even though they were dead, the letter they left behind for her, it showed that they cared about her. That they were loving parents. So, I can't say for sure, but I want to say that's probably how they felt with Hikaru here. I interrupted Akari, who looked like she wanted to say something else, and grabbed her bag. I'll walk you home.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you. Once I did that and headed home myself, I found another Akari waiting for me. It was Leland in disguise. How'd it go? She passed. Her parents also seemed to approve.
やったじゃない。
That's great for her. I got a slap on the back. It hurt like hell. 3 days went by. I got a call on a tablet I was still holding on to. It was from Akari. She told us her parents had given their consent for her to be a voice actress. That's great.
西目さんたちのおかげです。ただ、問題もありまして。
It's all thanks to you two, but there's still a problem. What is it this
俳
time?
優になる許可を本家に取らなければならなくなりました。
We still won't be able to do it without the permission from the head family. How are you getting
あ
that?
かりは来週、本家と分家が集まる会合に出席し、アイドル声優とは何かを見せることになりました。
The head family and the branch families will gather next week. I'll attend the meeting and show them what voice actresses
動画
do.
がずらりと並ぶ座敷に送り込まれ、幼女キャラを演じたり、主題歌を歌ったりするんです。
The elders will be there too, and they'll sit in a row in the tatami room. I'll perform the role of the young girl character and sing the main theme. Just hearing about it makes it sound
そん
scary.
なわけで、また手伝ってほしいのです。できれば、リルーさんに緊張しない薬など作っていただければ。
That's why I need your help again. If possible, I would really appreciate it if Leland could make some potion that'll prevent me from getting nervous. I don't think that there's a potion like that. But the nervousness is fine. You just have to push on through and not let it control you. In other words, acknowledge your nervousness, accept it, but don't let it get to you. I don't know if such a thing exists, plus you should really be relying... plus should you really be relying on a potion?
急に正論を。
My dreams dashed with the sound logic.
西目さん、今から会えませんか？
By the way, Nishime, could we meet right now? Why now?
いえ、顔を合わせて話がしたいなと思いまして。
There's just something I want to talk to you in person about. I don't really get it, but okay. We had seen each other a lot recently, so not meeting for 3 days felt like a long time. Leland threw a tantrum since she also wanted to go, but she still looked like a Kari. It wouldn't be good if we created a doppelganger situation, so I enter watch the house. I headed down to the shore by myself. The waves were gently washing up on the sandy beach. Aside from the trash that washed up, there wasn't anything else. People didn't generally come to the east side of the island, so it was always like this. I was sitting on the breakwater spacing out when I felt a tap on my
お待たせ
shoulder.
しました。こんなところまで恐縮です。
Thank you for waiting. I'm sorry I made you come all the way out here. Jeez, you treat my precious days off so frivolously. What is it this
ここ
time?
まで重要というわけでもないですが、
It's not that important or anything, despite saying that she looked uneasy. Since I was sitting down, I was looking up at her. And there wasn't anything, especially in the chest region, obstructing my view so I could clearly see her face. She looked better than
なんと
before.
直入に伺いますが、西目さんはあかりのことが好きですか？
Let me get straight to the point, Nishime. Do you like me? What did you say? Do I like Akari? Well, why? The way she's saying it makes me irritated. Like, it's a good question for her to ask. But seriously, why jump to so many conclusions? Did I do something consciously that would make her think that, or that would be embarrassing?
冗談ですよ。驚きました？
Just joking. I bet I surprised you. When I started getting worried, Akari delivered the punchline. Where was the joke in that? What was I even supposed to laugh
あれ
at?
おかしいわね。こう言ったらヒカルが喜ぶって聞いてたのに。
That's weird. I heard his saying that you would have made... that to you would... I heard that saying that to you would have made you happy. Huh? Hold on, who are you? I was talking to her as if she was Akari, but before I knew it, her voice had become someone else's. The way she's talking. Wait, you're
やっ
Leland?
と気づいた？私の演技力も捨てたもんじゃないわね。
You finally noticed, huh? My acting skills are pretty impressive, wouldn't you say? That's when I realized that this series of events had been planned. Akari called me out here and Leland agreed to stay behind at home without any fuss. They were accomplices. What the hell are you two doing?
別にあんたを騙して楽しみたいだけ。
Nothing really, I just wanted to have fun messing with you. You're the
ご
worst.
めんってば。けど、お詫びにいいこと教えてあげる。
I'm sorry, but I'll make it up to you by telling you
実
this.
はね、私もあんたが好きなの。
The truth is, I also like you. Where did that come from?
楽しかった。じゃあね、私は先に帰るから。
Aw, that was fun. Well, I'm going home. Leland then was always doing whatever she wanted. She laughed, seemingly satisfied before quickly leaving. I was left alone at the beach. What the hell was that just now? Leland likes me? That was, put simply, a surprise, but her telling me that, looking like Akari, I couldn't make any sense. I couldn't make sense of it right now. Could it be true, even though she treated me so harshly? Wasn't she always my cooking? No, wasn't she always saying my cooking was weird? My heart was filled with such doubts.
あれ？あかりは？
Hey, where's Akari? Leland, looking like herself, appeared. Hold on. You just looked like Akari. What happened?
戻ったのよ。ついさっき。
My form returned to normal just a bit ago. She said that so casually. What you said earlier, how much of it was
さ
true?
っきの話って。
What do you mean? Oh my gosh. So we were tricked. I like how they pulled this off here. You know what I mean. You said you like me.
は
Huh? Okay. We're still good on time, it looks like. And it looks like I'm still alive and everything. Okay, good. After pretending to be Leland in disguise, I quietly slipped away. After that, I climbed onto the breakwaters and looked out at the sea before letting out a sigh. Looking back on what happened, Nishime's reaction was too much. He didn't need to look at me like that, did he? Hearing that a beautiful girl likes you, going all red and stuttering as you respond, all that panic is a promise. If that was the case, then maybe I haven't given up yet either. What was I saying? This was something I knew already, wasn't it? He didn't have feelings for me. It's strange. Even though this was closer to being rejected, it didn't feel like, painful or sad. Was it because I had focused so much on becoming a voice actress? Was it because I could go to Tokyo without any regrets? With how everything had ended? Up either way would be okay. I took off my shoes and made my way to the beach. I went into the water and kicked at the waves, lapping up against the shore. I kicked them over and over, not caring that I was getting wet. I loved him. I loved Nishime. I had just pretended not to notice, because I also liked Leland just as much. What should I have done? If you fell for someone you liked, it would hurt someone else you liked. Well, that is true, Akari. But you can't avoid hurting others. To help one person, you will hurt another. Even your mere existence does. And as sad as that is the truth. That's why apathy isn't all that bad. I complain about it, sure. Not on here too much, but in my life I do. But just like any other emotion, it's not all bad. Even jealousy has its good things. But jealousy and then acting in a bad way based on it is definitely bad. I was a fool. I didn't have to think about it that much, did I? Because the answer had been there the whole time. Nishime and Leland had been making a world for themselves, one just for them. It wasn't a place for me to set foot in, but even so, even though I knew that, why did I fall for him? I had made a mistake. I wish I hadn't. I needed to forget him completely. All these feelings were just lies. No matter how much I kicked and kicked, the waves kept coming up to the shore. I wanted to break them all, so I kept at it. Before long, I got tired and couldn't lift my legs up. I tottered back to the edge of the beach. My body felt like lead. My whole face was covered in sweat, and I was out of breath. I wanted to collapse onto the beach. I wanted to lie down. But I resisted those feelings and I lifted my head. The merciless sunshine and the clear, almost fake-looking sky. It was the scenery I'd seen the most on this island where I was raised. I'll surely never get over this. I'll be dragging these feelings around my whole life. But this was me. All I had was myself, so I had to keep living this life I had. I wiped away my tears. I inhaled deeply and caught my breath. As I climbed the breakwaters looking for Nishime, I heard the sound of arguing. Leland was standing next to Nishime. Apparently the real her had shown up right after I pretended to be
誰がそん
her.
なこと言ったわけ？バカにするのもいい加減にして。
Who said that? If you're trying to make fun of me, you need to stop it. But you're the one who said it, that you like me,
言
right?
ってないわよ、そんなこと。誰があんたなんか。
I didn't say anything like that. Who would tell you? Or, well, you know, forget I said anything.
あんたがどうしてもって言うなら、私はやぶさかではないんだけど。
If you wanted to talk about it more, I would be willing. What does that mean? Well, it's not like I dislike you or anything. What do you mean? You tell me.
やっぱりあんたとは関わらない方が良かったのかも。
I knew it. I never should have gotten involved with you after all. I've had it with you. What is all this? Do you understand how much trouble you've caused me? They were going at it. And it was safe to say that it was because of my unsolicited confession. These two were quite irritating. There was no mistaking it. This situation called for the super ultra cutie cupid.
リルー俺はお前を
Leland! Leland! I love you! I approached them and yelled that.
あかり？
Akari? They jumped in surprise. They both had the awareness to know this wasn't the kind of situation you want to be caught in. Both their faces went red. You, how long have you been there? By the way, earlier was that...
はてさて、西目さんが何を言ってるのかわかりませんね。
I have no idea what you're talking about,
あかりは
Nishime.
西目さんとお話をしようと思って、今さっきここに来たばかりですよ。
I wanted to talk to you and I only just got here now. Okay, then that means earlier it really was Leland who came over.
私じゃないって何回言ったらわかるわけ。
Look, I told you it wasn't me. How many times do I have to tell you?
まあまあまあ、落ち着いてください。何があったかなんて考えても仕方ないじゃないですか。
Now, let's calm down. There's no use worrying about what
大
happened.
切なのは、西目さんがどう思っているかですよ。
What's important is what Nishime thinks, right? What I think?
あかりは夢を叶えました。次は西目さんの番ですよ。
Yes, my dream has come true. Now it's your turn, Nishime. As I gave him a serious look, perhaps because he had connected the dots, his face turned serious. There we go, that's it. The rest was up to you, Nishime. Anyway, having gotten that off my chest, it was time for this annoying bug to quickly fly away. I clasped my hands behind my back and slowly walked away on the breakwater. When I took one last peek over my shoulder, Nishime had turned to Leland with a very serious look on his face. I couldn't hear what they were talking about and didn't think it was something I needed to hear. I walked to the end of the beach and looked out over the ocean. It was shining and sparkling, bathed in the sunlight. From this moment on, I would live my life looking forward. That was what I decided. Of course, I'm grateful to them. Thank you both for everything you have done for me. Back to Hikaru, huh? It was the day after that embarrassing incident. Akari visited the house early in the morning. She was carrying her overnight bag. It looked like she was going on a trip. Where are you going?
東京に行くのでお見送りをしてもらおうかと。
I'm leaving for Tokyo and was wondering if you could see me off. Come
アイ
again?
ドル声優オーディションに受かったって言ったじゃないですか。
Didn't I tell you that I passed my voice acting audition? Yeah, you told me. You told me, but... You're leaving already? That's so sudden. There wasn't even 30 minutes until the boat left. Wait 1 second. I rushed to call
そん
Leland.
な話聞いてないわ。
I didn't hear anything about that. She just told me right now. We argued as we changed our clothes before heading out. We headed to the port together with Akari. On the road, we made conversation as usual. What happened yesterday quickly crossed my mind, but Akari didn't touch on that at all. I thought the day she left might feel special somehow, but it didn't. It was just another morning.
体には気をつけなさいよ。
Be careful out there,
レ
okay?
イさんこそ
You too, Leland. Leland and Akari were chatting sadly. When Akari hugged Leland, Leland gently rubbed her back. I wasn't a fan of the gloomy mood, so I forced a cheerful tone when I spoke up. So did you get a house over there or
ホ
something?
テルを取ってますよ。もちろん事務所のお金で。
I'm staying at a hotel and of course they're paying for it. That's amazing. Since everything was happening so quickly, they'd gotten a hotel room for her. From there she'd be able to search for a place on her own. Life in Tokyo, I kind of knew what that was like. But I wasn't so sure about living alone there. I know how to harvest sugarcane, how to efficiently pack it into bags, things like that. Akari was really good at cooking and doing her laundry, so there wasn't anything I could give her advice on.
西目さんもありがとうございました。
I'd like to thank you too, Nishime. I mean, I didn't really do much, but
何を言うんですか。
what are you talking
西
about?
目さんにはすごく助けられましたよ。
You helped me out.
惚れかけちゃいました。
You helped me out so much I almost fell in love with you. Hey now.
冗談ですよ。
It was just a joke. One that wasn't good for my heart at all. I gave Akari her overnight bag, which I had been holding. It was my second time doing this, but this time I wasn't sure when I'd see her next. As I thought that, I started to feel lonely. But there was no way that I could let it show on my face. I had to stay as positive as possible as we were seeing Akari off.
行ってきます。
Well, I'm off. Good luck out
元気
there.
でね。
Stay safe. We saw Akari off from the wharf. The ferry horn blared and it started slowly pulling away. We looked out into the ocean until it was just a speck on the horizon. As it faded from my sight, my gaze shifted to the sky. Don't cry now. Well, if it was okay for all of America to cry.
はあ、毎日お肉を食べられたあの頃が懐かしい。
Let's see, hold on, I just want to check on it. Yeah, alright. Got it right. Oh, those days, I miss being able to eat meat every day. Hey, don't complain. Eating meat on what we earn a dream within a dream. A week had gone by since Akari embarked on her trip. We continued our life as usual, eating fish and going to work. Our work hours didn't line up, so we only ate dinner together.
あかりの家の子になりたい。
I want to be a child in Akari's family. Why? It took a long time for her to speak up about what she wanted. And they did listen to her, but for the longest time, they just tried forcing their way on her until they talked it out. Oh, be quiet. You don't see me eating meat. Stop thinking about yourself.
あんたをあかりに変えてあげようかしら。美味しいご飯が毎日食べられるわよ。
Well then, how about I turn you into a Kari? That way, you can have delicious meals every day. You really think I'd turn into a girl just so I could eat meat? I've been having free time after work lately, so I've gotten really into cooking. I also bought a frying pan using the certificates we got from Akari. We were well off now. It was nice. And yet, it felt like the time I put into cooking was in vain. What was this feeling? It was similar to how it felt when you used up your favorite eraser. I could only make it weird metaphors, but I guess that just shows how shallow my life was. I was completely immersed in my thoughts. Just then the doorbell rang. Who can that be at this time? A door-to-door salesman? No, there was no way. We were on a remote island after all. I prayed that it wasn't some neighborhood dispute or something. I'll be right there. I never could have guessed who I'd find.
やあやあ、お久しぶりですね、西目さん。スーパー美少女のあかりちゃんがお土産を持ってきましたよ。
See. Hello, it's been a while, hasn't it, Nishime? The super cute Akari has returned with souvenirs. What? What's going on here? I want to say that something happened in Goldilocks. Is this one? Since she said she was leaving for Tokyo? But this is hard to believe or get a good read on what's going on. It was Akari. It took me 2 whole seconds to react. What?
そんなに驚くことあります？
Well, why are you so surprised? Wait, but didn't you go off to Tokyo?
そして帰ってきたわけですが。
I did, and now I'm back. But why did you come back?
何ですかその言い草は。
Well, why are you asking
あかり
that?
はこの島の子ですよ。
I was born here.
どうして帰ってきてはいけないんですか？
Why wouldn't I come back?
騒がしくしてんのよ。
What's all the fuss about?
あかり？どうして？
Akari, why are you... Leland had shown up and the confusion intensified. Akari put a hand on her
も
chin.
しや、お二人ともあかりが東京に引っ越したと勘違いしてませんか？
Oh
契
wait,
約手続きをするために向かっただけですよ。
oh wait, did you think I was already moving to Tokyo? I only went to finalize all my
父
contracts.
と一緒にフェリーに乗ったのを見てなかったんですか？
Didn't you see me getting on the ferry with my father? It's a really dumb punchline, but it left me completely flabbergasted. You didn't tell us anything!
まあまあまあ、スーパー美少女が帰ってきたんだから素直に喜ぶべきでは？
Well, in any case, the super cutie has returned home, so shouldn't you be absolutely delighted?
ありますよ。東京バナナです。
I even brought souvenirs, Tokyo plantain. What? I'm not in the mood for
いい
that.
じゃない。くれるって言ってるんだから。上がってけば一緒に食べましょう。
It's fine, since she said we can have them. Do you want to come in? Let's share them.
ナイスです。リルーさん。あかりはその言葉を待っていました。
Good thinking, Leland. That's what I was waiting to hear.
実はあかりも東京バナナがどんな味なのか気になっていたのです。
The truth is that I am also curious as to what these Tokyo plantain sweets taste like. We moved to the living room. Leland quickly unwrapped the box of souvenirs. What was this feeling? I felt like I'd been tricked, but I was also happy. Well, whatever. Welcome back, Akari. She responded with a smile.
ただいまです。
It's good to be home. End of Akari's story. I wonder if they'll let me save here. Alright. Well, if they had let me saved, I would have called it right here, because that would have been a nice one, but it also felt a bit anticlimactic. So I'm gonna go on for a bit longer. Just so that I have a better way to tell if the save is right in that. But yeah, that was just something there that they really should have just allowed me to save. I had only told one lie. And this is Leland's, but I thought it was a necessary one. It wouldn't have changed. It wouldn't have caused a big fuss, plus it was something that Hikaru shouldn't know about. That day I attended the ceremony as Akari. I was told it was going to be a big moment for me, but it didn't seem that way from how Akari's family was acting. Hold on, guys. I need to check on my phone, but I think it would be a good idea for me to take a break to use the bathroom and get a drink. So I'm gonna do that. And I'll allow you guys to have that break too, since that was quite a while. So I will be right back. Alright. I'm back. I hope you all had a good break too. Now, as I said, that ending there would have been a great place to end the stream at, but because they didn't have a good place to... I didn't have a place that I could just say save and that. We're just gonna continue on, especially since I can't really separate these out until we go to VODs if I so wanted to, so we'll just go on. Especially because I didn't do prologue separation anyway. But I'll be going until about the time I normally do. Or the time I normally try to, I should say. Let's see. I'm excited to see you fulfill your role. Kari's mother said that as she gave me a hug. I could see tears in her eyes, and she looked like she was carrying something painful. Is this the ceremony that we're seeing now? I didn't know anything about her, but it didn't seem like she was happy about her daughter's big moment at all. Akari's father was acting the same. Even though I heard that they were very critical, they rarely said anything while I was at the house. I wondered how Akari had come to that conclusion about them. It had made me suspicious the whole time I was there. My sense of discomfort grew stronger as the days went by, but it didn't change what I had to do. I spent the days quietly pretending to be Akari. After finishing a gloomy breakfast, I was taken to the Osato family. Yeah, I think we are getting a glimpse into this, and I really think that we should have had multiple choices here. The mishap at the audition and this at the choice lineup instead of how they did it, because they essentially ended the story right there. But this feels like that they're just continuing on with it instead of just somewhere that I could say, okay, this is over. So I'm glad I kind of decided to go a bit longer, but I'm also annoyed by how they did this. So yeah, I was led to a tatami room where I applied my makeup and changed into my white robes. The girl that Akari claimed was her enemy was in the same room changing. Her name was hard to remember, but I did recall her strangely styled blonde hair. As soon as I walked into the room, she clicked her tongue unpleasantly.
機会を差し上げたので不意にしたんですのね。それとも覚悟が決まったとでも？
You walked away from the opportunity that I gave you, or is it that you have come to your senses? Because I didn't understand what I was being told, so I gave her an ambiguous nod. When we finished our preparations, ex-Goldilocks and I made our way to the site of the ceremony. It was deep in the forest. I could see a building through the trees as we followed a narrow winding path. It was made of wood and raised off the ground. Judging from its appearance, it seemed different from the others I'd seen. There was a group of Kanjuna priestesses wearing white robes waiting in front of it. In the middle was an old woman wearing a crown of fern leaves. From what Akari told me, the Osato family was a lineage of great Kinjuna priestesses, but her appearance reminded me a lot more of a shaman. I had all the ceremony's procedures memorized by heart. First, those becoming Nora priestess had to prepare themselves to pray to the gods in front, and gods in the front garden of the palace. The preparations began with a lower rank Kajuna called a Hokama and a high rank one, the Kiminarai, marking the candidate's cheeks with a red seal. Marking the candidates was a declaration from the Kiminarai that they had been accepted to become Nora priestesses. Then, with a palm leaf in her fern crown, and holding colorful ones marked with the moon, peonies, the sun, and a phoenix, she prayed at the hall. The hall of worship was probably building in front of me. The high-ranked Kinjuna was likely the old woman, and with the fern crown, and the rest of them must be of a lower rank. At any rate, none of the Kinjuna present at the ceremony possessed mana. If they did, Hikaru would have more experience than them. I was optimistic during practice about there possibly being some meaning in all of this, but now that I was here, that all evaporated. It's evident that it was all a complete farce. This kind of seems weird to me, because I can't say it's a one-to-one. Like, you could say it's weird to me because it's like a culture shock thing, but I wouldn't say so. Why I say it's kind of weird to me is when I was growing up Mormon, they want you to go through their temples a lot, and those temples have been making big headlines for the controversies they've been having for various reasons. But a lot of times, it's supposedly for them to go on and be able to so-called progress further towards the afterlife. They have to go into these white buildings, and to do that you have to be a member of the church. And while they tried getting me to go through what you typically go through, the initiatories, even though I was like, no, I'm not interested and it would be useless, I have read from accounts and even been told by my cousin that the whole experience of that ordeal was just weird, and because you've got like chanting and all that, and then you've also got the tokens and signs that people said are very Mason-like, and that's probably why it has a much bigger culty vibe, even though the worst experience other than that going through it, which leaves people like feeling this is wrong and this isn't very comfortable kind of thing. The only other thing that people talk about that's as bad or worse is the missionary life. And I'm sure a lot of you have encountered the Mormon missionaries. These days, I kind of pity them because of what they go through, even though I haven't been on those missions either, because they've got a lot of pressure on them. And this whole thing just screams about all that, mainly the temple ceremony. That just comes off as even more creepy and you have to go through the temple as part of the mission process from what I've heard or remember. Don't quote me on that, though. I can be wrong. I've got my own problems with the Mormons, though. Like the fact that they aren't encouraged to think, and so you have a hard time getting through to them in a lot of them. I used to think that way myself, that like they do, but I kind of walked away and learned the importance of thinking. Let's see, so it was evident that it was all complete farce. I will now conduct the Nora Priestess initiation ceremony. What am I doing? Looking at my computer screen. There we go, that's a better reading of the time. The ceremony started with the old woman's announcement. Without even looking at us, she began moving slowly along this set path. The preparations ended without any issues, and Baldylocks and I made our way to the Hall of Worship. The moment I crossed the threshold, I felt a strange sensation. What was that? It felt as if I was being watched.
どうかしまして?
What's the matter? Ex-Goldilocks, who had walked ahead, suspiciously turned to face me. It seemed like she hadn't felt that chill just now.
ぐずぐずしていないで。早く済ませますわよ。
Stop falling behind. Let's get this over with quickly.
分かってます。
Okay. After being rushed, I continued deeper into the hall. The Hall of Worship was a perfectly square room. There was a stand shaped like stairs directly in front of us. Resting on it was the source of light for the room, a single candle with its flames swaying faintly. Looking around the room, I noticed that talismans had been placed on the four corners of the room. I felt an indescribable discomfort, but ex-Goldilocks lost her temper at the sight of me not moving and forcefully pulled me along. We knelt on the floor cushions that were there for us and lit the incense sticks on the stand. We then returned them to the stand and scattered rice and alcohol over them. I was told this was the sign that communication with the gods had begun. There was no way that was real, but I followed the steps I had been taught. Next came the prayers. We started by praying to the fire god, then the earth god, followed by the water god. Then, just like how we began, we finished by scattering rice and alcohol over the incense sticks. After this, we would dance together with the rest of the Kanjuna priestesses in the garden we were just in.
不思議ですわよね。
It's strange, isn't it? Keep forgetting about that. Just as she was about to extinguish the flames, ex-Goldilocks spoke to
何
me.
がですか?
What do you mean?
私たちは島で暮らしているのに、大地の神に祈らなければならないんですもの。
Even though we live on an island, we have to pray to the earth
神
god.
様といえば、普通は犬間だけだと思いませんこと?
When it comes to the gods, wouldn't you think that we only pray to the fire god, Kinu-kan? Now that she mentioned it, it was a reasonable point to make. In my village, it made sense to pray to the elemental and light gods, but praying to the earth god on such a small island was fun, but weird. Yeah, it was weird. As was the atmosphere in this hall. For some reason, I felt like I was being watched. I had experienced this before. Recently, too. Oh. I came up with one possible explanation. This place was a makeshift temple. There wasn't an overflow of mana here, but the talismans on the cardinal directions were prayers to the elemental gods. For holy fire, we had the candle. For holy water, the alcohol. This building, elevated off the ground, was an altar, and the step-like thing we were sitting on acted as a stand for the offering. The moment I realized all this, I found myself in a fierce cold sweat. This was a ceremony summoning a being of power. The building's style and details were different, but there was no mistaking that was how this situation was constructed. Right now, this space was acting as a makeshift temple. Furthermore, the spell is normally chanted from the outside of the temple. If that wasn't possible, the person casting the spell would become the offering for the summon. Currently, Kiminari and lower rank Kanjuna were outside. I felt a chill run down my spine. I thought they all lacked mana, but there's no way.
さっきから何を怖い顔をしているんですの？
Hey, you've got this look on your face like you're scared of
見え
something.
るわよ。これ本物だわ。
We have to get out of here. This isn't a regular ceremony.
本物？
What do you mean?
私たちはニエにされたのよ。
We're being sacrificed.
外にいる連中が呪文を唱え終えたら契約が成立する。そうなる前に逃げないといけない。
Once the women outside finish casting their spell, the pact will be completed. We have to get out of here before that happens.
何を言っているんですの？意味がわかりませんわ。
This is kind of having me laughing because the feeling that they're having is definitely resembling more and more the feelings of those that went through the Mormon temple that I mentioned earlier, not by name, but the fact that it made them feel uncomfortable and it was culty vibe. And in here, it's kind of the same thing, except the ritual is real, so it's understandable that there would be some fear here. Just then I felt the presence of mana. Some great power was drawing near.
説明している時間はないわ。
I don't have time to explain.
ちょっと！
Wait, hold on. Rather than explaining, I went into action. I grabbed her and jumped from the altar, right after something fell onto it.
何が？
What was...
外へ出て。ここは危険よ。
Get outside, it's dangerous here. I pushed her from behind and turned around to face whatever was calling out to me. It was a demon that gave off a sinister energy. I knew it. This building itself was a makeshift temple, after all. The circumstances of the ceremony weren't clear, but now that the inhuman thing was summoned, if there wasn't a sacrifice, the pact would be broken. Those beings under the sway of darkness weren't satisfied if there wasn't flesh and blood. So it wasn't surprising when it which had fallen onto the altar had jumped at me. I evaded the dark arms that had come at me and jumped out of the temple. Normally the beings that are summoned can't leave a makeshift temple. Even shadows were hindered by reason, and an invisible barrier was preventing it from leaving through the entrance of the hall. Every time the dark shadow raged, the hall shook violently. What's happening? Is there something... No, is there something there? A Kanjuna who had been waiting in the garden looked up at the hall. Hadn't they been casting the spell? Despite that, they all looked terrified, including the Kiminari. Weren't they the ones conducting the summoning? Conducting the summon? Yeah. If it wasn't them, then who? At that moment, the sound of an explosion roared behind me. Whoa, the entrance to the hall had been destroyed. There was no way. It should have been able to go outside, but the being of power had surely gone beyond that and was coming closer.
逃げなさい。食われるわよ。
Everyone get out of here, you'll be eaten. I told all the Kanjuna priestesses to run away, but none of them moved. On the contrary, the priestesses that were surrounding the Kiminari, they all got down on their knees. Oh great Kurotuzuri, please, your anger, please quell your anger. Following the Kiminari, the rest of the Kanjuna priestesses began bowing their heads one after the other. The remaining young priestess was observing this scene with a look of bewilderment.
何をしているの？さっさと逃げなさい。
What are you
家を求めているのよ。
What are you doing? Get out of here now! That thing is looking for sacrifices. Even though I yelled, there weren't any signs that the women were going to raise their heads. Meanwhile, the shadow leapt from the hall and revealed its full form. It cut a human-like figure out of its shadow. The overflowing miasma indicated that it wasn't any ordinary presence. It would take very strong magic to chase this being away, but normal humans wouldn't be able to will that. According to folklore, beings under the sway of darkness were weak to the light of the sun. I hoped it would stagger, but the forest was so dense there were places where the sunlight didn't shine through. The dark shadow began to slowly get closer to us.
黒手釣り様ってどういうことなんですの？何が起こっているか説明してくださいまし。
Who do you mean by Great Kurotizuri? Someone please explain what's going on here. The frantic ex-Goldilocks began interrogating the Kanjuna priestesses, but the older priestesses remained kneeling, not showing any sign of moving. If you would please quell your anger, great Ikigami, please protect our island. The old woman and the other priestesses continued their prayers. I wasn't sure who they were praying to or for what. At the very least, I could tell it wasn't to the elemental gods or the god of light. It might be some heretical religion. Why would there be a group of heretics on such a remote island? I had endless questions, but this wasn't the time or place to think about that. Damn it, this was just supposed to be some farcical ceremony. But it turned out to be real. I ordered ex-Goldilocks to go search for an axe. Sunlight was the only way to handle this. I needed to cut down the surrounding trees and let in the sunlight. I channeled all my mana into my magical items. And with my body strengthened by earth power, I was able to evade the dark shadow's attacks.
これを使ってくださいまし。
Please use this. I jumped at the axe that was thrown my way. Then I got to work cutting down the trees surrounding the hall of worship, one at a time. As I did that, the Kanjuna didn't move the slightest bit. But for some reason the dark shadow began to target me. Probably because I was the only presence that possessed mana in the area. But that made my job much easier, as there wasn't anyone else who could stop me. So I proceeded to cut down all the trees in a 32-foot radius around the hall. No matter how much I strengthened my body with magic, the exhaustion was intense. But the results I got matched the effort I put in. The shadow was looking at me reproachfully from deep within the forest. It seemed like it couldn't get any closer to us as we were bathed in sunlight. Now, if we provided another sacrifice, it would finish the ceremony. Only at least that was what should have happened, but the shadow disappeared without taking another sacrifice. Compared to the violent way it had appeared, it just melted away. Is it gone? Why? I had prepared myself for its next attack, but there were no signs of it anywhere. Ex-Goldilocks ran over to me. I was prepared for her to question my real identity, but just as she asked if I had any injuries, the dark shadow didn't show itself a second time. Those are the events that transpired that day. The shadow vanished, taking any danger with it. On the other hand, I was fully prepared to be denounced by everyone, but no one pressed the issue at all. I was just asked if I was hurt. The Kiminarai completely overlooked my actions. Since I had used my magic, they had to have known that I wasn't the real Akari. Although it was a bit eerie that no one brought it up. From what Hikaru had told me, there was no way that witches existed in this country. That's why I was told to avoid using magic in front of people. Why was the Kiminare ignoring the fact that I used magic? I didn't believe they hadn't realized what happened. Those girls knew what I was after. Or that was the only possibility. The Asato family. I decided to investigate them further. Sure, it's unlocked. Alright. Let me check on what happened here, because I'm glad that it took me back like I would have liked. But I need to make sure that there was an autosave.
い話の魔女
Okay, there was. And it looks like I'll have to be starting again afterwards. But that looks like it worked out well in my favor, so I didn't have to worry about too much of the time, since now would be the time that I normally stop. So I'll just call it here for the day. I thank you all for coming, and I hope you enjoyed your time here. If you're watching this over on YouTube, be sure to leave a like and hit that subscribe button and bell notification to hopefully be notified of when I'll be streaming again. And if you're on Twitch, you should know what to do. Speaking of Twitch, let me try and find somebody to raid. I doubt anyone's doing this, so let me check on a game that I like. Just because I want things to be chill. Or I can also look up Clan too, but we're gonna look up a game that I like. Okay. We are going to be rating a Just Francie. They are playing Trails in the Sky. I don't know if this is FC or SC, but it's one of those. And I hope that they are to your liking. Their tags include casual playthrough, so it should be chill, just like I try to be. But give them my regards when you get there, and tell them I'll be there as soon as I can. That way, thank you all again for coming. Bye!